Yo, hello, hello, hello. So, I am about to do a pretty good live. I have Michael Greco. He's in charge of the Hofstra University CRNA program. He will be coming in a second. Let me see. Nope. I'm gonna wait till you pop in. I just got off the phone with him, and we're taking CRNA interview questions. Click on the question box below and ask the questions you want to ask, okay? And I think you might have a little bit of trouble getting to my page, but we'll see. So I'm inviting him. He's coming in shortly. I think he has a little. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Perfect. There's a little question box below. Ask your questions below, and we're going to get into the CRNA school and CRNA school process and all of the above. As soon as Instagram bring them in. Did you get the invite, Mike? I think you got it. Hang on. Michael. Yeah, I sent you an invite. You gotta accept it. You gotta click on accept the invite if it didn't work. Click. Yep. Here we go. We'll try it again. I say, hang on, Mike. You got you gotta click on accept. let's try it again, Mike. 1 second. Invite. Yep. So,
Hey, Randy.
I'm about to say,
How's
you
it
getting
going?
How you doing?
Thank you. Sorry for the little technical difficulties here.
It's all right. If you're not used to going on Instagram Live, it gets a little confusing at the front.
Randy, I'm old. I'm Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook goes. I like that. Hey, so you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, thanks, Randy. My name is Dr. Michael Greco. I'm currently the program director at the Hofstra Northwell School of Nursing, the nurse anesthesia program in Hempstead, New York. So really excited to be here tonight to share our program with you. Because it's a very nice program.
And you know the neat thing is like about are you connected to your Wi-Fi or hang on, it might be me. Let me see. 1 second. It might be internet. My connection might be bad. How's that?
Great. I hear you. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the questions are already rolling in, but I just want to say that like your program I love how your program's put together. Could you tell us more about your program and why you decided to combine acute care nurse practitioner and CRNA together?
Yeah, you know, Randy, during the COVID pandemic, a lot of the CRNAs, the operating rooms were closed. There was no patients. So they started sending CRNAs to help cover the patients in the ICU. Now, between you and me, we are full-service providers of CRNAs, but we lack that ability to diagnose and manage. That's what the nurse practitioners do. Regardless of what our colleagues say, we don't have that ability to do that. We don't write for all of these drips and these treatment modalities that they provide in the ICU. So that really identified a knowledge gap within the CRNA communities. And I said, you know what? By combining these two, acute care and CRNA together, we really, truly are a full access provider. Now, in New York City, we have hospitals on every corner. But I want you to think about rural America, where they don't have hospitals on every corner. Imagine someone having to travel an hour out to get to a hospital to see a primary to see a provider and then to go into the OR. Well, we're full service providers now. Holistically speaking, we could diagnose, we could manage, we can give anesthesia. So I really felt that it was a holistic way to really treat anesthesia care, where we could see them pre-op and do their H&P, intra-op and post-op. But, you know, more so in New York State, and here we go with the state again. They let people take their boards without even going to a real school. But let me tell you about New York State. You know the DNP degree, our terminal degree in practice? Mm-hmm. New York State sees that as a nurse practitioner degree. So whenever you have a DNP given to a candidate after they earned it, conferred in New York, they got to take additional clinical hours to get the DNP degree, because it's an NP degree. So if I had to put, when I developed this program, I said they're making add 2 additional 6 credits, diagnosis and management classes, and I will have an acute care registered nurse practitioner who is board eligible to become board certified and sit for their boards. So that's what I did, and that's why I orchestrated this program. It has so many purposes behind it, but at the end of the day, we're really, truly full-service providers.
You know, what's interesting is, like, when I was going through CRNA school, I got a master's degree, right? Mm-hmm. Just around my last semester, I approached my program director and mentioned, hey, you know, like, if you're going to trade, because we still switching over, they switched over to DMP, obviously. I approached them, I was like, hey, you know, if you're going to do a DMP, why not just add, like, an FNP or acute care nurse practitioner degree on to that? So what's the process? Like, I talked to the nurse practitioner program director and the CRNA program director. Seemed like the nurse practitioner program director didn't want to, like, entertain the notion.
I don't know why, Randy. Probably because clinical placements are so challenging for us to get. They probably have a hard time placing their FNP or acute care students. So that's why they were like, no more. I'm lucky with my program. It's the Hofstra Northwell program. We have a very, very, very strong affiliation with Northwell Health, which is the largest health system on the Northeast. So there's no problems with clinical placements because our students have priority of clinical placements, not only anesthesia-wise, but also on the NP side as well. So it was very much welcomed by our health system and by our university. They like innovation.
What how many other programs are located near you?
So we have Columbia University, which is in Manhattan. Now, Columbia University is one of the first schools in the country that developed the DNP. That was from Mary Mundinger, who had that idea. So that school, they didn't have to add these additional clinical hours because they were grandfathered in. But in New York, we have Columbia University. We have Albany Medical College, which they do exactly what we do. They have to add the additional clinical hours, but they don't offer the 2 diagnosis and management classes. So even though you're doing those extra clinical hours, they're not getting that acute care nurse practitioner board certification eligible degree conferred.
Okay.
And we also have the University of Buffalo.
Oh, okay, Buffalo. Yeah, that's not even close to y'all.
No, it's in the States. But we also have Rutgers University, which is in Newark, New Jersey, which is fairly close.
Okay, Rutgers,
yeah. Do a lot of the clinicals in New York.
Okay, that makes sense. What do you guys typically look for in applicants for CRNA school?
So there's a lot of different things that we look for, and this is what CRNA candidates always say. Mike, how can I strengthen my application? What can I do? You know, the first thing you got to look at is, and we go over this in our open houses. I do an open house about every other month or every month per se. And I tell
Where
them,
can they find your open house at?
The open houses are all virtual.
Okay, you guys hear that? It's virtual. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Open house, yeah, and you register by going on, if you Google CRNA, ACNP, DNP, Hofstra, Northwell, or Hofstra University, you'll see a little link that you click on and you just register for our virtual open house, all right? And you get to meet the faculty. I usually have a student on there. But more so, I go over the attributes that I look for in candidates. I look for candidates that are professional. And how do you present yourself professional? Well, your resume can tell me if you're a professional. Your essay can tell me if you're a professional. If you've got a million grammatical and spelling errors, you're not vigilant. That's not professional. Are you knowledgeable? Do you know about the program? When you ask me questions, are there the answers to questions that are all over my website that you didn't do your homework on? Are you motivated? And I could see if you're motivated by your CV. Do you just have that you're a travel nurse, CPR, CCRN, and then you note that they just took their CCRN to become a little bit more competitive, not that they really wanted it. Are they self-aware and are they articulate? I could tell you that when I interview you face-to-face. We look for candidates that are flexible because you know, Randy, the flexibility in our profession, you're doing a 2-year-old in the morning, and then right after that, you're following it up with a 92-year-old. You got to be flexible to various situations, right? I look for those candidates that are confident, those that are humble. And Randy, I want to graduate the next president of the AANA for my program. So I look for leaders who have that leadership trait. Are they on committees? Are they leading care councils? Do they have any leadership background, military? That's what I want in my program. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Yeah, I think, and I tell people, it's a difference between confidence and cockiness, you guys.
100%. Well, and let me tell you, sitting in an interview with someone, the first thing I think about when I start to interview them is, can I sit next to this person in the operating room for an hour? You know what I mean?
There you go. Because at the end of the day, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's what I look for in interviews. I want to see that we're able to be reciprocal on our dialogue, our conversation.
And you know, I like to tell people, like, you know, after you finish a program, like, you're going from student to colleague now. Like, am I going to like this person at the end of the day? You know, he's going to be my colleague at the end of the day. You know, even though I was his professor, now we're colleagues. We might end up working at the same place.
Exactly right. And, you know, they're going to represent me. They're going to represent the university. You know, I saw on your thread one of my former students said, oh, you know, Dr. Greco was my program.
I'm sorry. I read it to the face.
You know, and that made me proud when she said that, you know, because I loved her. I adored her. She was one of my former students, and I want someone that's making me proud that's going to be out there because they are going to be representing us and the university and the school that I put so many hours into. So that's what we want. You know, and we get the best candidates, Randy. You know, you can't just look at a CV and grades and say, this is it, I'm making my decision based on that. What we do at Hofstra, which is different, is we have a holistic admission process. And this is what AACN is kind of gearing us all to do. Don't just look at one metric and say, that's a good candidate or that's not a good candidate. One of the things that we've tailored to our admission process, and I think we have a pretty extensive admission process, just because our School of Nursing is fairly young, and what we do is we're following the medical school. You know, we're getting 240 to 260 applicants. I could be selective on who I want in this program. So we have.
You guys hear that?
Say it again.
No, that's what I tell you. You hear that? We had well more than enough applicants, you guys.
So when that applicant comes, so there's different types of applicants, and this is one applicant I want to talk about. The one who takes the wet towel and tries to throw it across the wall, hoping that it will stick. You know, that's not my program. They come in with all D's, F's, and C's and really haven't done anything to really improve themselves. Their CV, it's marginal, just really not much development, just clinical practice. That's not who I'm going to take the risk on because, Randy, they only got one shot in my program to be successful in their classes. We're not going to keep repeating them like you could do in college, taking English 3 or 4 times or chemistry 3 times. It's a one-shot deal. You're going to be successful. We got to report our metrics to the Council on Accreditation, those who accredit our program. I don't want bad outcomes. I don't want to be put on probation because I took the risk on the wrong student. I want the right students. Right?
When applicants, because I get this question a lot, what is there an ideal GPA you guys look for?
So looking at my admissions criteria, which is on our website, what we like to do is we look for a GPA of, let me see what we look for. We really look for a GPA of a 3.0 or above on a 4.0 scale. That's not, grades aren't everything. There's a lot more to a person than just grades, a candidate than just grades. But let me tell you, when you start failing all your classes and you're like, well, I'm going to retake it. You know, I had fun in college. You know, maybe I messed up with 1 or 2 classes and I retook it and I showed whoever took the risk on me that I was able to do the coursework. You can't retake 3, 4, 5, 6 classes. That doesn't fly when you have a candidate of 240 to 260 qualified candidates. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you really want to display that you're able to handle the academic challenge. Now, when I say, I sometimes tell people, go out and take a graduate level class. Show me that you could do the work. I don't want to see University of Phoenix, schools that we know everyone gets an A in. That's a given. University of Phoenix, you're getting an A. It has no clout. Yeah, it is an accredited program, but it's just like, how can I weigh you when someone's coming in with the same class from NYU or from Columbia University? Very, very, very
Yes.
important. You know, you want to go to a reputable school.
You guys hear that? Somebody asked, what are the graduation rates of your program?
Well, since I'm a new program, I haven't had any attrition yet, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
I have fake wood on my desk, IKEA, but I'm knocking on it. But I hope that I selected the right group, so I'm hoping to have 100%.
Yes. Now, do you recommend them do extracurricular activities like attend like a state AANA meeting or something like that?
Randy, that shows me right there that they want to be a leader. That shows me that they're truly interested in the profession. That's what I want to see. I want to see that they're interested, maybe go to the AANA, the state meetings, that they really, truly care about anesthesia. But I can tell you what I don't want to see. I don't want to see that you shadowed 90 hours in the operating room, because that just shows me you're probably annoying, that you're overkilling it, you're over trying. All I want them to do when they shadow, and I have a shadow form on my website, 8 hours, 6 hours. I want you to be able to tell me, what does a nurse anesthetist do? That's what I want to get out of your shadow experience. I don't want you to know how to induce anesthesia and administer anesthesia. You know, I want to just know that you know what we do, that you could really articulate the roles.
Mm-hmm. How long is your program?
So my program is 36 months. Now, I just want you to know every CRNA program out there now is 36 months. We are a DNP, a Doctor of Nursing Practice is our terminal degree. So every program in the United States right now is accredited for a 36-month program. They may be finishing up their master's cohorts, which are 26 to 27 months, but every school will be putting out DNP-prepared CRNAs. My program is 97.5 credits. If you look at other programs, compare it. We're pretty much the same as every other program. And with that, you're getting a dual certification, CRNA and acute care, in the same amount of time as these other programs.
I guess somebody want to know if you have FNPs and acute care nurse practitioners that want to go back and do CRNA, is there any options for them with your school?
In my school, there's not, and here's why. We use a pedagogy called PEARLS. It's active learning and reasoning, where students, it's student-based learning where they put in very small groups of 8. And that's when they develop relationships, collaboration, leadership, because they take all different roles while they're in that process. It's an academic process. Patient exploration through active learning and reasoning synthesis is what the acronym PEARL stands for. And they begin to learn that through their basic nursing form, their advanced health assessment, and their patho. And we start to incorporate that pedagogy in the anesthesia classes, so they have to know how to be engaged in PEARLS so that they could thrive in the program. And they learn that immediately when they come in. So right now I do not take any transfer credits. And a lot of what we do, Randy, is very similar to what the acute cares do, what we learn. Mm-hmm. So I thread my curriculum, I spiral my curriculum, whereby I may take chest x-rays and throw it in, which I did. I threw chest x-rays, which would be in the acute care program. I put it in the CRNA program with cardiac anesthesia. So they're learning all about cardiac, about the X-ray. So if the acute cares already have that, there'd be some overlap or there may be some gaps. That's the really neat stuff that we do.
I like that.
Thanks.
Somebody said, what assistance do you guys have any like assistance do you offer for your students, struggling students or anything like that? I know for myself, my program was, you know, we were offered free tutoring and we actually were offered mental health sessions, at least 7 mental health sessions courtesy of the school, and we could use them anytime we want.
You know, we have the resources. It is a full-service university. They do have a writing lab where you could go for extra help. In the past, what I've done at a previous school that I was at before Hofstra, I used to take my students and hire them as teachers' assistants, my seniors, and they would help mentor the younger folks that may be struggling a little bit. But what I do is I also pair my students up. I have an internal mentorship program where the students are paired up with a student that can also help them get through some challenging coursework. My first class, I didn't have seniors, so I paired them up with CRNAs throughout the health system who would mentor them.
Nice. What's your ideal, like, I know everyone asks this, what ICU should they go to apply to your school? Also, do you take PICU and NICU experience?
So NICU, meaning neonatal ICU, we don't take.
That's neonatal ICU and pediatric ICU.
Take neonatal, and let me tell you why. You could just be in the neonatal ICU as a baby who's a gainer and a grower. They're not critical care. So that's what the COA wants. They have a definition. I have it on my website. The critical care unit is, on a routine basis, you care for critically ill patients. Do I take pediatric ICU, Randy? Those are some of my best students because they're able to change their thinking. Think about a cystic fibrotic patient. Could be an adult in a PICU. They're able to change their thinking from an infant to a toddler, to a child, to a young adult. And that's what we do in the operating room.
Yeah.
So we take PICU. I take all ICUs. What's the ideal ICU? I judge them all equally, but to be biased, I really like when my CRNA students come out of a surgical ICU because they're versed with surgeries. They have a relationship with anesthesia. They're used to hearing the surgical procedures and different things that tend to happen intraoperatively. Cardiothoracic somehow has become, you have to go to the CT ICU if you're going to go to CRNA school. Same procedure, same complications, same drips, same treatment modalities. Is that the best? NICU is also great. I don't have a preference as long as they have the critical care experience. And what I do, Randy, I let them tell me, they have to be CCRNs. Everyone's a CCRN this day and age, but a lot of them don't know the material. That's another exam that I think lost its credibility because everyone's taking it. I put them through a phase 1 and a phase 2 interview. A phase 1 interview was you and me speaking like this, Randy. You know, why do you want to be a CRNA, Randy? Tell me, what have you done? Tell me your results. The routine questions. But the phase 2 interviews is when I give the candidate the opportunity to validate their CCRN. This is when I like that. I put them in critical care case scenarios. What's on the CCRN blueprint? Nothing crazy, nothing that's not in there. And you'll hear if I put in an ICP reading, I don't work in the neuro ICU. But you know what? That was on your CCRN exam, so you should know that. Yeah. I'll put up rhythm strips. Some people can't identify basic rhythms, but they have ACLS. I'll throw them an ACLS question. They won't know the answer. They're not hard. They're very entry-level questions that I ask. So this is where I really validate who works in a unit and who doesn't.
I like that. So, I did a lot of CRNA school interviews before I, ultimately decided on one. And one of the interview formats I went through was an MMI format. Have you heard of that?
MMI.
Multi-mini interview.
No, I have not.
So basically, like, they will have like 7 smaller interviews within the one interview, right? It started off with like you talking to me like it is. Then you have a mini CCRN. Then you have a mini ACLS, BLS ceremony. Then you have a critical thinking situation. Then you'll have a communication situation. And then after you go through all 7 stations, it'll be 10 minutes per station, right? The person at the station will give you a rating 1 to 10. And then at the end of the interview process, you'll come out with a score. And then basically draw a main straight across. Either you fall below this deviation or above it, and you get accepted.
Oh, wow. Randy, I think that's speed dating.
It's almost like speed dating, but it's like, I guess a lot of math schools have moved to that to make it more fair, I guess, because, you know, some people are bad with, like, speaking back and forth like we are. Some people are bad with tests. Some people are bad with this. So it was interesting to do it. I mean, ultimately, I didn't go to that program, but I was just wondering, like, your format is, you know, you do your personal interview, and then you put them through a critical thinking portion.
And let me tell you one thing. Listen and allow the interviewer to ask you questions. I had this person last week, this guy. He came in and he had his own agenda. So I just sat back and said, all right, let him go. He had a whole presentation for me. You're in an interview. I want to ask you questions. I don't want to see you present. So I let him present for 15 minutes, and I said, well, you did a great job, but I wasn't able to really evaluate you on any of the questions that I need to ask you. So I guess I'll see you next year. He had a computer board behind him with his picture and all different attributes that I talk about and why I should select him for my program.
Okay. I guess the next question is, during your process, do you expect the interview process, during the interview process, candidate selection, do you expect the applicant to express interest in strictly CRNA or CRNA and nurse practitioner?
Ideally, I would like to hear them like both, because if they want just CRNA, I'm probably not the ideal program for them. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear them express interest in both. Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
How much time is you give each candidate per interview process?
So we have phase 1 and we have phase 2 interviews. Phase 1 is 15 minutes, and let me just tell you, I could tell in 5 minutes if I'm going to move you on. Phase 2 interviews, that's about 20 minutes, and what I do is, now it's time for me to bring in my clinical affiliates, my preceptors who work with students. I bring them in, I bring in my docs, you know, because you want to win over your docs who also support your program as well. So I have a whole consortium. Now, do you all know who Laura Gasparis is, the CCRN guru? A lot of times.
I don't know her personally, but go ahead.
All right. Well, a lot of people who take the CCRN know her because she does a lot of comedy stuff and puts out CCRN discs. But I even bring her in for my committee.
Wow.
And the students freak when they see her because they know that they learn from Laura. Yeah.
Can you see the question below?
Is 2 years ICU experience required prior to application or prior to enrollment? So I get this question a lot. So if you think about orientation this day, if you're in a really good ICU, you're going to be in orientation for at least 3 months. So let's just say right there you only have 9 months of experience, all right? So use that to gauge you. I will not interview you if I see you have about a year and maybe 9 months. I'm going to bring you in for an interview because by the program starts, you'll have a little bit over 2 years. Now, my program, I want 2 years of experience. A lot of the other programs out there accept 1. I got to tell you one thing that's different about my program. Are you ready, Randy?
I'm listening.
My students come to school, their tuition's comped. So my health system puts them forward. We give them books, health insurance, and they pay their tuition. They just got to work in one of our 23 hospitals. We're all over New York. We're in Staten Island, Manhattan, Long Island, Westchester, and we're going to be growing into other suburbs as well. You just got to give it 5 years, and you're going to get all those certifications. That's a help.
Okay. I guess they said, can a family nurse practitioner be considered for a program? Like to start from the beginning?
Absolutely. You would start from the beginning. But I would ask you, and this is what I usually ask my MPs that come through, why the epiphany? Why now? Why didn't you want to be a CRNA a few years ago when you pursued your FNP, since they're so different? FNP is primary care. Why do you want to go into such an acute care role now? That's the question I would hit for you, and that you should think of an answer for that. I want to.
Do they need
I've always wanted that.
Do
I've
they
always
need
wanted to be
the ICU experience as well?
Yes.
Okay, just so there's no confusion. You could be an FNP, but you still need your ICU experience.
Right. FNPs are primary care. They work in clinics. That's not critical care experience.
Let me see. Do you accept RNs that completed that BSN outside of America?
No.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Outside of America, let me just see. The COA has a very strict policy on education. Nursing school has to be in America. Their BSN, if it's accredited, and it is comparable, and you'd have to get your degree translated and weighed, we would accept it. But the admissions department would have to make that decision.
Okay. It says your program has a acute care nurse practitioner aspect. Can a non-board certified NP write prescriptions? So do you guys get board certified?
Yes.
On the NP side.
Here's the thing, Randy. Remember, in New York State, they consider CRNAs, our state is backwards. I love New York, Big Apple, but we're backwards in a lot of aspects. In New York, I think we're one of the only states that NPs do not have to be board certified. Most hospitals require it, but the state doesn't require it. All right?
Wow.
CRNAs, you know that we're not recognized as advanced practice nurses in New York.
I know that much.
I think we're the only state that's left. We work on our RN license. All right? So if you have advanced physiology, advanced pharmacology, and physical assessment, you can apply in New York State for an acute care NP license. Many of my colleagues are ACNPs. They put the initials after their name. But remember, that's not worth anything because you got to be board certified to practice in the hospital. So you can get prescriptive authority by applying for it, but unless you take your board certification, there's nothing you could do. Like right now, I'm also an acute care NP board certified, so I could write prescriptions. If I didn't have that, I couldn't.
Oh, I didn't know that. So how does it work as far as like, do you make your students apply for the board certification for nurse practitioner?
Yes, they have to, and that's in their agreement that they have to apply. If they could get through CRNA, they could get through the NP boards between you and me.
So which one do they study for first?
So let's just see. Let me look at my second year class right now. They finished all their diagnosis and management. They finished all their NP clinicals. So right now they're still doing anesthesia clinicals. They took a diagnostic test already on how they'll do on their boards. We're sending them to the Barkley review, which is like our Valley or our Apex review, Randy. It's comparable to that. When they come back, they're going to take their boards. So they'll be board certified, though, but they can't practice because they won't have their degree conferred until they graduate from the CRNA program.
Somebody said, do you recommend a post-bac pre-med program or MSN degree for a candidate with low GPA?
I think an MSN degree would be fine. That could show that they are capable of doing graduate work. Now, just remember, everyone, we're getting 250, 220 to 60 applications a year. My program only accepts 32. I'm going to go for the best, the sharpest, the most polished. What would medical schools do if I sent them a transcript with fractured grades and then I showed them that I could do it? Would they still interview me? So that's how you have to constantly think about it. Just because we're a nursing discipline, we still have that expectation. That bar is still high, and we're still asking our candidates to come up to it. We're not going to lower it for anybody. Listen, I'm Italian. I got the hand action going on tonight.
Oh, man. Do you suggest, are you still recommending the GRE in your program?
No. You know, programs that have that are a little outdated. There's really no evidence out there that shows that they're a successful candidate in the CRNA programs were successful on their GREs. No.
Oh, that's a interesting question. Must be SRNA. What's one question you occasionally or regularly face as a director of the program?
One challenge that I occasionally or regularly face, well, this is a new program, so I'm always reevaluating. The good thing is I came as an experienced program director, so I kind of know. But let me think, what is my challenge? I think one of the biggest challenges is having parity with the other nursing disciplines because we're so unique. A lot of your administrators and other faculty don't quite understand the CRNA program. They don't understand the rigor of it. They're learning, but a lot of times that poses a challenge to my program, or it gets affected because they don't understand it. Remember, NPs work full-time and they go to school part-time. My students give everything up. They invest their lives into becoming certified registered nurse anesthetist. They have 100% commitment.
Where do you recommend people get, how many letters of recommendation that you require, and where do you recommend people get those recommendation letters?
That's a great question, Randy. So we require 3, and I want somebody that can attest to your nursing expertise. I don't want Dr. Jones, who is your hospital hero, Dr. Jones, the cardiothoracic surgeon who comes in with the red cape. He can't speak to your nursing abilities. I want a peer. I want your nurse manager. I want your nurse educator that could really elaborate on your skills. Now, that's a good question, too, because let me tell you something. Make sure whoever you have as your references are vigilant and responsible, because a lot of times they don't care. It's not for them. It's for you. They'll write a little paragraph. It looks like garbage. Or they'll say, I recommend Randy for your program at Dubai University. You're like, where's that? That's not my program. They're just sloppy because it's not theirs. It makes you look really bad as a candidate, even though you're not responsible. It just may say, why are you asking this clown to do it? Someone that can't speak or test, and they're not even doing a good job.
Okay, you guys hear that? For this program, there you have it. And get to know people, you know, like I had at least 5 different people write me letters of recommendation that I knew. Not necessarily my manager, to be honest with you. It was like, you know, my peers, charge nurses, educators, and all of that, who I actually work with on the floor, you know.
And if you have a relationship with a former academic professor, that weighs a lot because they could attest to your ability to get through the rigors of the schooling. They know.
I like that.
Yeah. If you're writing an essay, this is a doctoral program now. You got to be able to write. You're going to do a capstone project. Have somebody proofread your work. You know, don't write like you speak. Take a quick class in scholarly writing so that it's a little bit more clear.
You can practitioner. Any more questions, anybody? Anything you want to talk about? Let's see. Can I have an ADN and be, well, you can't be accepted with an ADN. You need a BSN. They said they have a non-bachelor's already, a non-nursing bachelor's.
You need a nursing bachelor's because you can't go from an ADN to a doctorate in nursing. You got to go through the trajectory, which the flow is ADN, baccalaureate, doctorate. Or it used to be ADN, baccalaureate, master's, then doctorate. But since we've removed a lot of the masters, you can go BSN to doctorate. You have to go in the right order.
And I think he answered this one already. He said for this program, we take them 2 years. Do you recommend them applying at the 2-year mark or before the 2-year mark?
You know, I think it would strengthen your application if you had 2 years of experience, right? If you just come in, that's another thing. Do you want the bare minimum in the different categories in admission, or you want to excel in your categories? If we're that competitive, you want to excel in your categories. You don't want the bare minimum. You're going to get there, but good things come to those that wait.
How did you guys calculate GPA? Do you take cumulative GPA, or what if they have like different degrees or something like that?
We look at sciences. The basic sciences, which is, believe it or not, it's one of there's 4 categories that the boards test us on, Randy. That's one of them, basic sciences. So I want to see how you did in biology. I want to see how you did. If you took chemistry, it's not required for me, but if you took it, I'd like to see how you did. I want to look at your sciences. I look at your physical assessment scores. I look at your anatomy and physiology, your pathophysiology, your basic sciences.
So, yes, you guys, please focus on that in nursing school. If y'all still in nursing school, like, focus on your grades.
Yeah.
Like, especially the sciences. Like, my science GPA was like 3.9 or something like that. think I had a B in microbiology lab that gave me that and shot mine down. Some weird stuff like that. Does it hurt you to have 10 plus years of experience?
10 plus years of experience? Well,
yeah,
it doesn't hurt you, but I would probably ask, what took you so long to get here? You've always wanted to be a CRNA your whole life. Why are you waiting now? Why 10 years later? Because we're making good money now? And that's another thing. I always look for your motivation. Is this something you wanted to do, or is it something that's drawing you the extrinsic motivation of money? So that's who we look at, too. Is this someone that really wants to be here? Then why weren't you here 10 years ago?
So is there a window? Like, do you prefer people with, like, is there a range of experience that you prefer? I know you consider everyone, but I
think the best is anywhere from 2 to 5 years. That shows.
Yeah, I said that 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, I would take someone with more experience too, if they're the right candidate. I would not interview them, but I would want to see what they were all about, why they took so long to get there. Some people say I wasn't financially ready. I wanted to make sure I'm successful. I knew I couldn't work, so I had to get all my resources in line, and it took me 10 years. That's a different story.
What do you recommend for people that try? Because I know a lot of nurses are traveling now, so they're not in one particular place at one particular time anymore.
Andy, why are they traveling? Why are people traveling so much these days? Is that
money?
Intrinsic motivation? Yeah, that says a lot to me too, right there. Are they going to be able to sit in a desk for 36 months? And when they graduate, are they going to continue to be leaders in the anesthesia profession? Because what we make now wasn't given to us by not anybody working hard. Somebody worked hard to get where we are today. We've got to continue and give back to the profession, or it's going to fall. They're going to take away what we all gave. So I look at that as well. Are they going to be able to lead? Or are they going to run around and try to make money? They don't care.
Somebody said, do you accept BSNs from like I guess those online programs, those quick online programs like Capella and things like that? If
they're accredited, we accept that. As long as they're accredited, and my admissions committee would validate that. My admissions team, I should say, in the university.
Okay. So they got to be accredited, and they have to have a GPA. I know Capella is a pass-fail school, so I don't know how you calculate a GPA from that.
Yeah. It's challenging. That's Capella versus NYU. Who am I taking?
NYU for sure. So I think he answered the questions. He would rather you continue on and complete some graduate level, do well in graduate level coursework.
That's good.
Than repeating a lot of your C's. Well, if you have a lot of C's in science courses, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, this is a one-shot deal. Why'd you get all these C's? A lot of C's is not. Remember, 240 to 260 applicants for 30 seats. Do I want to take the risk on you with a lot of C's? Or do I want to just give it to someone that I know is academically sound, who's going to make it through? This is what I don't want to derail anybody and say you can't do this, because you probably can, and I want you to succeed, but it may not be my program. You may have to go to another school that will accept people like that because they need the enrollment.
It says, are your clinical sites only through Northwell?
I only go to Northwell sites. There are 23 clinical sites. Everything is there. So my students train how they're going to work. Okay.
Do you have any independent practice sites?
I don't have independent practice sites because we're not even recognized in New York State. I don't want to start training people to be outside of a role that we assimilate in New York. But we have autonomy.
It said application due date is February 15th. How many spots left for fall 2023?
Let me just tell you guys, the application is open, but all my seats are filled. We take them in on a rolling admission, and I got my 32. So if you want to apply, what I'm going to do, if you're a good candidate, I'm just going to roll you into next year and offer you a seat then for my next cohort after that. But I would just
early bird gets the worm.
Say it again.
Early bird gets the worm, you guys.
That is it, right? Where were you when they opened up in December? Or, excuse me, they opened up in August. Where were you?
So, is it front-loaded or integrated?
Integrated. And you know what, Randy? The first week, they're in the OR with me. We're not learning the anesthesia machine in a lab. We're learning the anesthesia machine in the operating room. We go in the evening when all the cases are out. I put 2 students in each operating room. The machine is there, connected to fresh gas, and they're learning it hands-on. That operating room table, we don't need to learn it in a lab. We're all going in an OR. We're going to know exactly what that environment's like. So I take a lot of my classes, and I put them right in the operating room. That's where they're learning. I also go into a cadaver lab with my students the first semester, where they're actually working on human tissue. We're not intubating a plastic mannequin. We're intubating a human.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. A lot of these questions you guys are asking, he's already answered. We'll just go back to the playback. I actually like that, the integrated directly in the OR. It kind of reminds me, like I work with a lot of residents at my last job, and they learned in the OR. Like,
OR. Yep. But they get lectures too. You know, we supplement it. I just lecture in the hospital. I bring them to one of my ambulatory hospitals in Manhattan. We have the conference room there. Get into the operating room now. Let's go see it. Let's come back and talk about what you saw. It sticks.
I think he said he already will consider PICU experience, pediatric ICU experience.
100%.
Does it matter what care hospital it is, the ICU experience?
Well, I don't want your hospital, your critical care unit to be rule out MI. You're not going to have any experience. I want you to have sick patients. And you know what? That's where you're going to see when I ask you in the phase 2 part. That's where I'm going to know if you know critical care nursing. When I start talking about CRRT therapy, if you're in a little hospital, you're not even going to know what that is. So that's where I know if you are a critical care nurse or not, when we start talking about modalities such as that.
How much is research value in a candidate selection if someone did research?
I mean, that would definitely strengthen your application, but would it weigh? I think that is something good to have. You have an extra skill set. That's something that would augment your resume and would separate you from your neighbor.
Somebody asked, can you talk about the Casper judgment test?
So the Casper judgment test is a situational judgment test, okay? A lot of schools will say we ask emotional intelligence questions, emotional intelligence, EI. You heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but to really understand EI answers, you have to be trained in that. The situational judgment test is that. It's an emotional intelligence test, but it's graded by 17 psychologists. So they're going to ask you a question, Randy. They're going to ask you, what would you do in this situation? There's no right or wrong answer. It's the way you answer the question. The psychologists will interpret your response, and they'll give you a grade. It's anywhere from a positive score to a negative score. And let me tell you, when I don't like someone in interviews and I look at their Casper, they're always in the negatives. So you kind of have that. It's very, very good. That's what the medical school uses. That's why we follow that.
Do you consider people that's been in ICU float pool?
Yeah, absolutely. You're in the ICU, taking care of critical care patients. Yeah, I would certainly consider that.
I would add, just make sure, like, if you're floating from unit ICU, different type of ICU to ICU, you need to build relationships with the managers and people that you're going to get to write your letter to recommendation.
That's a good point.
I mean, ICU float pool is awesome. You get to experience every different ICU. You still need to get somebody to write your letter of recommendation, and that includes those managers, whether it's on SICU, CV, PICU, neuro, whatever. You need to build relationships with these people so they can write you a good personal letter of recommendation, not just like cut and paste block, you know.
Yeah. And there's another thing, Randy, and I got to take my hat off to you. You're offering this feed for all these prospective CRNAs out there. You're not charging.
Nah.
There's so many companies that are out there that are just trying to take your money to say, we're going to tell you how to get into CRNA school. And then they come to your program and they start throwing all this propaganda at you, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not the way it works. This is so effective that you're doing this, and you're doing this for free. This is selfless.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So, and I tell people, nobody could guarantee you're going to get into CRNA program. Nobody can offer that guarantee.
You know, these programs, we're going to teach you how to write a resume, a reference. an essay. Every one of them has the same essay. It's the same theme. So you know who went through these programs. And there's so many different companies out there that are doing it. And they're companies. They're making revenue.
I think you answered this question. If you did poorly in your non-nursing degree, do well in your BSN. And if you still have low GPA, take some graduate level courses and apply, do well in those classes.
Yeah, we have people that come in the program that didn't do well. You got to think about it. When you first went to college, you're 18 years old. You're silly. You're having fun. Then people then get professional and they streamline themselves. So all of that is taken into consideration.
And I think he said a contract lift if you were to take the experience with his program is 5 years afterwards graduation. You have to work within one of the 26 hospitals.
23 hospitals.
23.
Yes.
Still a lot of hospitals. Still a lot of hospitals, right? Other than that, if they decide to pay out of pocket, how much would it cost?
I want to say it's about $150,000. I'm not 100% sure, but you could look on the website and see how much it is for a graduate credit, and then times it by 97.5.
Okay.
But you also want to consider your living arrangements and your food and everything you're going to live off of for the next 3 years when you look at that amount.
Are your students traveling a lot for clinical sites?
No. So what I try to do is I certainly take into account geographic location where they live. I give them preferences, but it's just out of preference. I try to pair them where they live, but I want to give them the best experience and the best training. So they may have to travel a little bit, but it's not that much.
Okay, so yeah, that's awesome because there are a lot of programs where you have to travel to different states. So
yeah, no.
I think that's definitely a plus where you're at least within driving distance to to clinical sites.
Now, the only time that my students go overseas, Randy, is when they go to Staten Island.
Staten Island. Well, I don't know anything about New York, you guys.
Oh.
I went to school in California, and California is huge. I think our furthest clinical site was about 4 hours drive away.
Oh, no.
4 hours drive away. So,
yeah.
And in that case, like we could do class. It was on our clinical phase, so we get the lectures online.
Helene Fogg, I think somebody asked you about Helene Fogg. Yeah, we would accept you. You'd go from Helene Fogg, I think that's in Brooklyn, and then you'd get your bachelor's degree. So absolutely.
There you have it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not one of those Florida programs, you guys. Yep, I said it.
You did.
So, that's a good question. I think that's for you. If you start just a regular acute care nurse practitioner program in Hofstra, can you switch to the CRNA combined program?
No, because it throws your curriculum off. So when you come to CRNA school, you're accredited for a 36-month full-time program. If you start taking NP classes, when you come to me, you're not going to be full-time, and then we'll fall out of accreditation. So you'd have to retake things or audit.
It said if you didn't get in first try, if I try again, does it make me still a candidate or not?
100%. I don't know if you reapply unless you tell me in the interview. But yeah, it's a clean slate. You're coming back. And I hope that people that don't get in the first time, they sit back through a clear lens and they evaluate themselves. Don't reach out to me and say, how could I be better? Because I'm not going to tell you. That's what you have to do. Tell me how you could be better. Look at everything. Look at your resume. Did it hurt my eyes when I was trying to figure out your experience because it wasn't clear? Did your essay make me cry when I read it because of the grammatical and the spelling errors? Were your references good? I want you to look at everything holistically.
Will working in NICU, PICU, float pool be accepted?
That's a little more challenging because you're hitting the NICU again, which is not critical care. PICU I'll accept. Float pools, again, depending on where you're floating. But if you're floating to NICU, you're not taking care on a routine basis. You're not managing critically ill patients. I put the COA's definition on my website under frequently asked questions for critical care experience. Look at that. You've got to manage vasoactive infusions routinely.
Okay, okay. Have you guys? So you have a DNP program. Do you guys have a postmaster's program?
Postmasters
Anything?
acute care, yeah. So CRNAs are coming back to me for the postmasters, but not postmasters in anesthesia. They're getting it in other areas.
Oh, just like acute care. Now, if they like for me, man, I may consider going back to do a DNP, but like, I want some value out of it. What kind of programs you guys offer?
Well, our programs are just nursing. Yeah. And my school's a little challenging because I'm in the state of New York where they recognize the DNP degree as what? An NP degree. So I'd have to put you through additional clinicals. So I just give you an acute care.
I understand that much.
Yeah. I'd put you through my postmaster's acute care, then you'd go right to the DNP.
It said, last question, is there a residency program like nursing, or is there the training all rely on clinical, all rely on clinical classes?
It's a school. Is my program, is she asking a residency program, or is it like a nursing school where they sit in a desk? My school's integrated, so I use many different teaching modalities. One may be you're learning in the OR, another may be you're learning in a classroom, another may be you're learning in the cadaver lab, learning in a sim lab. So it's nursing school, but you're a resident. So my students wear the ID RRNA. They're registered nurse anesthetist. They're residents, and they're working 60 hours a week.
So what role do you expect, like, once you get your first cohort of graduates from this program, what role are they going to function in? How is it going to work with the NP degree and the CRNA degree? Have they already, like, paved out jobs for these CRNAs that are coming out of school? Because,
So
are they going to function on the ICU? Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know my role on the Northwell Health side, but on the Northwell Health side, I'm also the assistant vice president for CRNA services. I oversee the entire CRNA practice at Northwell Health in the 22 hospitals. And I'm also the program director, so I'm kind of in two dual roles within the organization. So what we want to do, working with my executive VP, I want to create a delineation of privileges that expands the role of the CRNA that has the dual certifications, which will expand their scope of practice. This is my little workaround to expanding the scope of practice for nurse anesthetists in New York.
So do you expect them to be working on the ICUs? How often?
They can certainly do that, but I think we'll more so be in preoperative area or post-op. If they want to go to the ICU and do critical care, the option is always there. They could pick up extra shifts and do that as well because they're both certified. Yeah,
I always wanted that. Because obviously the pot of money is different when it comes to acute care nurse practitioners, CRNA, so they will have to work that out with whoever's in charge of that pot of money.
Well, that's
and how often they come to work.
The reimbursement isn't there for us in the ICU side. It's only there for us in the OR side. That's where the money comes from. That's why MPs make a lot less than us, because it's just the reimbursement factor.
Okay. I'm not even sure what a flex staff ICU is. Do you know what that is?
I do. Flex staff is our health system's internal agency. You're more than welcome to apply to our program. It's Northwell Health Nursing Agency. Yeah, come on down.
It's preference given to them.
Again?
It's preference given to them.
We don't use any preferential treatment. If a candidate, whether they're Northwell or non-Northwell, if they meet our criteria, everyone's treated equally.
And I think they're asking the same question about Staten Island School of Nursing.
So is that like St. Paul's?
I have no idea. Is there any other extracurricular, like leadership things they can do outside of hospital committees that you guys look at?
Yep. I want to see that they're involved, that they're moving their practice forward. I want to see how you've made an impact as a critical care nurse. What have you done? That's what I want to see. That's going to tell me a lot. You could tell me what you want to do as a CRNA, but why haven't you done it as a nurse? That's what we like to see. Let me just tell you one thing about shadowing. Don't contact me and ask me, can you help me find someone that I can shadow? Pick up the phone in the hospital that you work at, call the OR, find out who your chief CRNA is, and make arrangements for yourself. If your hospital tells you, we don't allow shadowing, then they're not looking out for your professional development. You need to find a hospital then that you can work at that will embrace you and take you into shadow. So that falls on you, the onus, not us, you.
This is a good question. How much is diversity value in your candidate selection?
Well, the nice thing about my program is it's a holistic admission process, so diversity is huge. Do I have quotas under each race? Absolutely not. Having qualified candidates when it's a holistic process, you have students from all walks of life. You really get a diverse class, and that's how that falls into play. You don't even have to look for quotas. You just look at who's qualified, and you just get a big mix. It's great. Is
a master's health? I think that's MHA a bad route prior to CRNA school.
So that's a master's of health administration. Yeah. That's like an MBA. Is it a bad route prior to CRNA school? What would you do with that? I mean, and then MHA is management, and then you want to be a CRNA, which is a clinician. That you probably would get a CRNA first and then an MHA or an MBA. But going that way, it's kind of backwards.
Do you guys look at gaps in resumes?
Yes, we do. Most certainly do. And you'll explain that to us if you get an interview.
So if you get an interview, how many people you guys typically? So you get about 250 applicants, 250 to 300. That's about what every school is getting right now across America, right? How many do you take for the interview process?
You know something, Randy? Every time I look at someone and they meet the qualifications, I bring them into phase one. Remember, I got different phases, so that's why I start knocking people out.
Okay.
So I may have someone that I love when I interview them, and then their CASPA score is awful. You know, then that may knock them out. So I interview everyone that meets criteria, impresses us a little bit. They'll come in for phase one. Then I'll knock them out from there, and I'll bring about maybe 80 forward for phase two.
Okay, I like that. I know. I said I like that process. So I guess the vast majority of applicants probably at least get looked at, you know.
Oh, yeah, unless they're missing something. So I require ACLS, BCLS, and PALS to apply. It has to be AHA. You'll have someone that will submit American Red Cross that's online. And right there, they're knocked out. They can't follow simple directions. Be vigilant, be astute, be careful, look at the admission requirements. Follow them so that you know what we need.
I think we answered just about most questions. And if you're in it live, you have to go back and watch the rerun for a lot of the questions you guys are asking over and over again. Anything else you want to add to this?
You know, if you're interested in the program at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York, go to our website. Just Google acute care NP CRNA Hofstra, but go to my frequently asked questions. Every question that comes up over and over again is listed there with an answer. I didn't hear yet tonight, which I'm surprised. Do you take emergency? That's a question that I get all the time. That's on there. Emergency. Not every patient that comes in the emergency room is critical. There's a lot of non-acute things that come in the ER. Remember, the Council on Accreditation states on a routine basis, you manage one or more of the following: A-line, central line, Swan gases. But all your questions are there.
Any other random questions that you get from students? You can think of?
Yeah, I think that we hit all of the questions that I get asked routinely.
So yeah, you guys
like you accept a year. That's another common one. Different from the MP programs, we're restricted by the Council on Accreditation. The MP programs can open up to 100 students. CRNA programs can't. They're given that number by the Council on Accreditation to make sure we have enough resources to give that student a good education. So I take 30.
Let me ask a question. So if a student, and my understanding is your nurse practitioner, they get through the nurse practitioner portion before they start the CRNA portion of your program?
It's threaded together.
Oh.
They do it together. While they'll do anesthesia clinicals, Randy, on like Wednesday, Thursday, they'll do NP clinicals on the Friday. And they go to the same hospital they're in. So their role's very transferable there. They'll go to the ICU one day, they'll be in the OR for 2 days. And that's the two
That is tough, you guys. Like, that is tough, like, to thread all of it together. So, like, I don't think this program is for the weak.
No,
for the
but
weak.
here's the good thing. They're getting their central lines in the ICU. While they're there, they're using ultrasound. They're putting in their central lines. We're counting those cases for CRNA school. They're intubating out of the operating room as NP students. They're counting those intubations.
Somebody said, when do they study?
They have a lot of time to study. I'm very, very careful with their wellness. Weekends, remember, they're full-time residents. When do residents study if they're in the OR all day? This is not nursing school where you have that, I'm off, okay, I'm going to a wedding. I always say if you go to all these weddings, you need all this time off, then you need to be a full-time bride, not a full-time CRNA student. They certainly have the time to study.
So definitely it's all or none. It's all or none, you guys. Either you're going to finish the entire program or nothing, you guys. Like, no, hey, I did the nurse practitioner portion. Now I didn't make it through the CRNA portion. So
All or none.
I think it's all or none.
Yep.
How long does it take after completing the interview? Do you send out acceptance letters?
It really all depends. Usually it could be anywhere from I'll offer you a seat right on the spot if you really impress me, or it will take maybe about a month to a month and a half if it's still open. I'll just start writing more my applicants.
Is there a minimum amount of hours for the acute care nurse practitioner clinicals they need to get?
Yes, there are, and that's gauged by New York State. Clinical hours for the acute care NP is 420 hours right now, but I know that AANP is going to be increasing that.
Oh, okay, good. Is there a minimal GPA they need to maintain in school?
Yes, they need to have at least a 3.0 at Hofstra University, which is a B.
What is a B? So are they allowed to get C's in certain classes and make up for with A's?
Less than a B minus and down, they need to retake the course that's failing.
Like the class or the course?
The course. If they get less than a B minus in a class, they have to retake it.
Okay, so they're allowed to take take classes over?
It's up to the program director. It's discretion.
Ooh, okay. You guys hear that? So I'm pretty sure that's not a lot of C's in that program.
No. But you know what? You're getting that. You're not standing out there in the unknowing. You're meeting with me. We have come to Jesus's. I put you on performance plans. We help you before you actually get that failing grade at the end of the semester. We're working with you. Have an advisor, one-on-one advisor from day one.
Okay. Yeah, and that's awesome. Like, 'cause one-on-one advisor plus I guess you're at a point where you can implement pairing senior students with incoming students, which is awesome, and it helps a lot because we did that with my program. We got paired with senior students and junior students. That way it make the transition a lot smoother and expectations and things like that. So I like that. Well, let me see. It took me blah, blah, blah. I have no idea what those questions are. I'm going to see if we have any more questions real quick. It says, how do you feel about introverts during the interview process?
Well, I can tell you, in the operating room, you got to be an extrovert. You can't be quiet. You have to communicate. You have to collaborate. You got to put it out there. So you wouldn't thrive in anesthesia. That's definitely not for you if you're an introvert because you got to speak up. Randy, echo me. Yeah,
so like you said, just like the interview process, you're going to have to present yourself. You're going to have to convince that committee, that board, that, hey, I'm a worthy candidate of being in your school. So if you get in the interview process and you're quiet as a mouse or you're nervous or shaky, that's not going to look good because when you get in the OR, you got to speak up. Like, because if anything were to happen in the OR, guess what? You got to either speak up, you got to take control of the show. Sometimes you got to tell a surgeon no. You got to direct people, and you can't be an introvert directing people, including the surgeon at times, because I've had to do that before. Like, hey, I need you to do this. Stop what you're doing. We need to focus on this right now. Like, you can't be there as an introvert. Especially, I do independent practice, so I don't have anybody I can refer to when it comes to like knowledge. So if the surgeon asks me something, or if I got to cancel cases and things like that, I got to be able to talk to the surgeon. Hey, here's why I'm canceling your case. Here's what we need to do to proceed. You can't be introvert. I don't have an anesthesiologist or somebody I can refer to, and you got to be able to say that and speak to that yourself. So if you're an introvert, you got to find a way to get over it. Like especially if you want to work in the ORs.
Take a theater class. Take a theater class, a public speaking class. I love it. I had this student one year that I interviewed at my former school, and she was, yes, no. So I gave her that advice that I needed to try to take a theater class. So the next year she came back, and I was interviewing her, and the camera went on, and she did. She was all theater. And you know what? She got in. She razzled me.
And if you guys are introverts, there's something called Toastmasters, where it's basically a public speaking course. It's a public speaking course that it's free. You can sign up. They have it in almost every city across America. You could just go and just read an essay, and it improves your public speaking.
Yeah.
For the most part. So, yeah. And then, like, another thing is, I don't know if it's for you, but, like, there were little things that stood out from my class I noticed, on top of all the leadership experience and all of that, they just wanted to know about us, like personal-wise, personality-wise. Is it the right personality? Like, I had somebody, what's up?
Yeah, they wanted to see your personality.
Sorry about my son.
Who you are.
So,
go
put some clothes on.
You want to see who you are. You'll be working with us.
How is there anything you guys should know how to manage stress coming to a program like that as well? Like, I know that was one of the number one questions that I got in almost every interview I did. Like, how do you manage stress? How do you deal with stress? Because a program like that is going to be stressful. Any CRNA program is stressful. So, yes.
And I always tell the candidates, too, you got to be ready to embark on this journey. Readiness is key. Everything's got to be ready to go. If you're thinking about having a baby, probably not a good time while you're in the middle of this program to embark on such a big responsibility. Yeah, it could be done, but it's just a huge distractor for you and for your success. You're going to invest a lot in this, so timing is everything. Your readiness is everything.
Okay, I think we got through almost every question. I appreciate you coming on and talking to everyone. I'm going to save this interview and I'm going to tag you in it so you can have it if you want to use it later. It said, is there an age limit? I don't.
No. If you're an old lady, you're more tn welcome in my program.
I'll save this interview, you guys. It's awesome. His program's awesome. I think everyone's anxiously waiting to see how your program does, and I think more and more programs will kind of mimic yours after the next couple of years. To be honest with you.
Capability review right now that are doing it. So, and there's a lot of people that contact me from deans and other program directors that want to mirror this. So I think I started a trend in nurse anesthesia.
Yeah, I think everybody's gonna move over towards that, to be honest with you, and I think it's a good idea, great idea. I wish my program was like that, but yeah, I love it. I will talk to you later. I'll message you later, but thanks for your time. We appreciate everything. I'm gonna put the link to his program in his actual interview. That way, you guys will go to his actual website if you guys want to apply. And I'll tag him in the video as well. Okay.
Hey, did everybody see us on the Today Show last week? The CRNA?
No.
I had the microphone. Hoda put the microphone in front of me. I'll send you the video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were out there for representing CRNAs.
I love it.
All my students were with me. It was great.
love it. I love it. We need to get more. We need to do it. You know what, you guys, he's doing great. We just need to do a better job of promoting the CRNA field, because believe it or not, other people get credit for what we do.
True. Very true.
Other
Absolutely.
people get the credit for what we do, and I think because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even know about CRNA field until like I've actually met. Like, for me, I found out the CRNA field from being in the military. I was stationed with CRNAs, surgeons, and nurse practitioners, and I was a medical lab guy doing blood banking and all that stuff.
Wow.
And those are the guys I used to hang out with at lunch, the CRNAs, the surgeons, general surgeons, and the nurse practitioner. And that's how I found out about CRNA school. And then that's how I decided, hey, I want to be a CRNA, and went back through the process to get here.
Yep.
So mine was a little bit different route than everyone else.
One thing just to tell everyone out there, Randy, is if you want to be a CRNA, and you really do, set your mind to it, make it a goal, and attain it. No one can hold you back. Just go. You know what you
I love it.
Go for it.
Love it. All right. Thank you for stopping in. Until next time, I might bring you up again once I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of questions after this. You might even get a ton of questions. Just be mindful of that.
Not a problem at all.
All right, Doc. I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks.